Mary goes for a run through the forest toward the cemetery until she catches the attention of a man lying in ambush. On her way back, the stranger is already chasing her, and at one point he grabs her. However, she fends off the maniac using pepper spray. The chase ends near Mary's car, where she injects the pursuer with a sedative and drives him to her large, smart house, where she locks the car in the garage. She apologizes to her neighbor Zhao for rushing past her like a madwoman and rudely asks her to leave. Afterward, Mary examines the killer's knife, the one the press dubbed Diablo, who is known to move to a new state after 3 murders. Mary recalls how she moved here with her husband Robert and their daughter Kelly to this smart house designed by her. Everything inside is controlled automatically through apps, and even a lift was built for Kelly, who has a sick leg. Mary sits in a room full of monitors, watching as Diablo cautiously steps out of the car, bewildered by the open door leading to the basement. There, the man finds himself in a room plastered with photos and newspaper clippings about the girls he had abducted. Mary plays him a news report about a serial killer known as Diablo, and his first victim, still unidentified due to the body being burned. The maniac remembers how his mother scolded him for his bad behavior, comparing him to his father and calling him the devil in Spanish. After this, he notices a camera, and staring into it shows Mary that he accepts her challenge. Mary impatiently waits for the man to find the key on the wall to proceed to the next level of her game. In the next room, called Oregon, the killer sees 3 lamps with the faces of his first victims, whom he used to keep in cages. Above them, he removes an amulet he inherited from his mother, takes the next key, and covers the camera with his glove. In response, Mary turns off the lights in the room and turns on a TV showing the sister of one of the girls sending a message to Diablo, saying that someday someone will take him down. Afterward, Mary electrocutes the man and walks over to a memorial for her daughter, recalling how Kelly was supposed to undergo surgery on her leg. The man regains consciousness and opens the next door to a room called Colorado, which is filled with hot steam pipes. A TV report tells the story of a girl who was unaffected by his homemade paralytic device. However, it impaired her vision, so she managed to escape by feeling her way out, burning her hands on the hot pipes. The second victim in that state was found without a tongue but already burned alive at a paper factory. The third girl died similarly. Mary opens the next door and burns the man with hot steam, driving him into a room called California. There, Diablo sees a replica of the statue from his mother's grave and 3 photos of his California victims. Then flames erupt from the floor vents, forcing him to hide under a table, but he eventually falls through a trapdoor leading to a stone pit. Mary recalls how, after Kelly's leg surgery, the girl asked to take a walk in the park alone, but by nightfall, her mutilated, charred remains were being examined by FBI agent Selena Wall, who had been hunting the man across several states. Meanwhile, the maniac pulls a stone out of the wall, climbs back to the room, and avoiding the flames, smashes the camera. He then climbs up the wall into a ventilation shaft. However, he stops halfway through, and Mary realizes that her tranquilizer has kicked in again. Mary recalls how Agent Wall shared information with her that Diablo traveled in a van and most likely worked odd jobs in the states where he committed his murders. In the case files, Mary spotted the formula for the tranquilizer the maniac used and asked to have it provided for research. Later, Mary met with a person selling vials of this solution and bought them all. When the seller realized she intended to punish someone, he advised her to first learn self-defense. Mary responded that she had been practicing jiu-jitsu for 12 years. Mary grabs more tranquilizers and approaches the paralyzed maniac to administer an additional dose. However, it turns out that he has already regained consciousness, and they get into a fight that moves to the stone trap, where the man gains the upper hand and injects Mary with the tranquilizer instead. The maniac recalls how his mother called him the devil, but Mary, before it's too late, distracts him with the TV, which shows her daughter Kelly, and injects him with the pre-prepared tranquilizer. After this, she sets a timer on her smartwatch and recalls how her husband caught her testing a paralytic device. When Agent Wall arrived, Mary explained to her that she wanted to develop an immunity to the killer's tranquilizer in case he tried to attack her. In her office, Selena advised Mary to join a support group instead of trying to find the maniac herself. When the agent stepped out to talk to a colleague, she left the case files behind, which Mary used to sneak into the archives by pretending to be an FBI agent. In the archive, Mary studied a crime map and, after analyzing it, found the maniac's childhood home with a small cemetery where his mother, Sarah, was buried. When Robert learned that his wife planned to take matters into her own hands, he begged her to abandon the idea, but realizing she wouldn't stop, he decided they couldn't stay together. Mary finally recovers from the tranquilizer, but Diablo also regains consciousness. She somehow climbs out of the stone trap and moves through the rooms, but the man follows her. Both of them enter the house, where Mary locks herself in a special room. The maniac heads to the control room, destroying all the equipment he can see, and then demolishes Kelly's memorial and scatters her ashes. In a rage, Mary bursts from her hiding spot, engages in a brief struggle with the man, and returns with his knife. Meanwhile, Robert arrives at the house, called there by Zhao, who was upset by how rudely Mary had spoken to her. Unable to enter the house due to the broken system, he calls Mary, asking her to let him in. However, Mary instead follows the blood trail to find the maniac. Eventually, he attacks her and seizes the knife, forcing Mary to recall her jiu-jitsu lessons to engage in combat. Agent Wall also arrives at the house, called by Robert. In an attempt to talk to Mary, she gets caught in the fight and is accidentally wounded in the abdomen. Mary disables the maniac until he loses consciousness. As Robert rushes to help the injured agent, Mary hands him the necessary medical supplies, binds the maniac, and drags him to the basement despite Selena's protests. There, she throws him into the stone pit and once again shows him images of her daughter Kelly before tying him to a table and turning on a projector that shows how she found his childhood home and family cemetery with his mother Sarah's grave. Mary explains that after going through the archives, she realized that the maniac always operated near small family cemeteries like this one, which allowed her to track him down and lure him here. She also deduced that Sarah must have hated her husband for something and compared her son to him. When his mother yelled at him, calling him Diablo in Spanish, he couldn't take it anymore and killed her. After that, he began to treat all the girls who resembled his mother the same way, punishing them as he had punished her. The video shows Mary digging up Sarah's corpse and burning it with lighter fluid. Mary douses the maniac with the same fluid and proceeds to do to him what he had done to the girls. Afterward, she ascends back into the house and announces that Diablo is finished. Agent Wall explains to the arriving colleagues what had transpired. This later made headlines as the story of a notorious serial killer. However, it turned out that even after his death, something similar continued. After all, no one had ever considered where the maniac's father, whom his mother had compared him to, calling him Diablo, might be now.